How are you guys doing? Adam Glass here. I want to talk to you today about these lifting straps. It is a popular opinion amongst a lot of people that lifting straps suck and that they're useless. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a series of new applications that you can use with your lifting straps that are going to give you far more options in the stuff that you like to do. It's not going to be a thing where I'm going to be showing you things that you've never thought of before you don't do. These are all things that a lot of you already do. And I want to address a couple things right now about the basics of straps before I get into the extra exercises. And I want to share some ideas with you. So the first thing I want to tell you is that I have had lifting straps in a gym bag or at whatever gym I was training at since I very first started training. And I use lifting straps quite a bit throughout the first, probably for the first 6 years of training. I use them all the time. And during that time, I didn't find that my hands were particularly weak or my wrist was weak or anything. And once I started doing more grip training, I found that I was using lifting straps more and more in my training because I did not have the specialized equipment that I do today. So for those of you who are familiar with what I do, I have a huge variety of specialized equipment that I use for what I like to do, which is a lot of grip training. So the irony is that what I'm telling you first and foremost is someone who has a very good grip, someone who has world records in a number of grip events, and someone who has beaten some of the best current grip athletes on the planet uses lifting straps in their training all the time. Okay, so they don't suck, they're not useless. In fact, useless is a really hard terminology because most lifting straps cost under $20. And if you get the right ones, they will not break, they don't wear out, that sort of thing. Now, I do want to talk about lifting straps breaking for 1 second. So, a lot of you guys know this, I'm a fan of Ironmind equipment. Okay guys, before I show you a lot of different things about straps, I first just want to talk about what straps to get. So, a lot of you know I'm a fan of Ironmind equipment. I've been buying Ironmind equipment since I was 14. I'm 30 now, I still buy it. There are things that they make that I'll buy in the future. They make good equipment. This was the first pair of lifting straps I ever got. I got these at age 14. There is no tears or frays that would stop them from being used, despite the fact that I've used these for rack pulls on a really sharp hurled bar for months and months at a time, going over 1,500 pounds. And then this is a brand new pair. So when I look at the brand new pair to the old pair, besides color, it's not really that different. Now I have been to competitions where guys have had straps that broke, and I've seen a few people get hurt way worse than they probably would have if they would have had a quality pair. And the biggest thing that happens is especially during a heavy pull, if they're a little bit off center, left or right, and more weights to one end, and there's a big fray or a cut, that strap can burst and they let go while holding on to one end. So all of a sudden, one bicep catches all that weight. And I've seen a few people hurt their back and hurt their bicep tendon that way, so I don't want that to happen to you. I'm not saying buy Ironmind straps, but don't buy shitty ones, not those $4 ones at the sporting goods store. Once you get your straps, throw them in your bag, break them out, use them, try them out. Try out some of these new things I'm going to show you today. It's not a thing where I want you to use them every time you lift. You know that guy who's doing shrugs in the corner with 30-pound dumbbells and he's strapped in for those? Maybe he's had an injury, maybe he's not, but for a lot of people, they probably don't use them. They don't need to use them as often as they do. Okay, there's specific times that it's very beneficial. So we're going to go over some new things for you to do with your straps. And the number one thing I want you to keep in mind with this is that the whole reason they're made to hang onto the bar makes them very useful, not useless. And there's a lot of advantages of being able to work with a weight heavier than what you can hold on to. So let's try out some new stuff.
Move all the eagle.
Okay guys, first thing I'm going to show you is an exercise that probably 95% of you are doing right now, the bench press. So lifting straps and the bench press, how do the two connect? Well, the first one is I want you to think about how many horrible stories have occurred over the years and how many people have been seriously injured attempting to bench with a false grip or thumbless grip and they lost control of the bar. Now, there's a lot of good reasons for you to bench press with a false grip, particularly when you start looking along the lines of what types of grips are you using and not using. but I don't think it's such a great idea first of all, not to mention false grip, even if a fairly lightweight by yourself, and even if a spotter, when something happens, it happens fast. And you can have a very attentive spotter and just a lapse of concentration, you lose control of the bar, they may not be able to catch it, especially some of you guys are doing some big weights. So one way to train the thumbless bench press and make it far, far safer would be to use your lifting straps and tether yourself to the bar. Right? It takes an extra 10 seconds in setup. Once you're in, you're going to have a very, very confirmed grip. You'll be able to use this or other angles of false grip depending on what you like to do or what feels good for you. And for a lot of people, it's very, very beneficial. So it's not a thing that I suggest you start doing if you currently don't bench press false grip and you don't really care to bench press, whatever. But for those who do, this could be quite beneficial. So just to show you what that would look like, I'm going to set up just like any other type of lift that I'm going to use straps. Straps go towards the palm, almost always. Get them set in, get your fingers in there, and you can roll in kind of tight. Put your second one on. Same thing, roll it towards the palm, grip up, roll up your bar to get them tight. Now the bar is completely secured in my hand. For this position, even if I lose my wrist angle, it still will not fall. So this makes it very, very easy to play around with that false grip bench press safely without having to worry about dropping a bar in my face, which is not something I'm interested in ever having happen to me or to you. Even if I don't like you, I still don't want you to drop a bar in your face. So this is one potential use for lifting straps. Like I said, it doesn't suck. The barbell front squat is one of the most foundational of leg exercises in total body. It's a core movement for the sport of Olympic lifting, but it's also used by a lot of other people. It's also used by a lot of bodybuilders. Of course, it's seen a massive increase in popularity with CrossFit, and there's a lot of guys who know that when they're having problems with their squat, sometimes it makes a lot of sense to move to the front squat. The problem is that the rack position is far more technical than a lot of the other types of squats, and it requires a degree of flexibility in the shoulder and in the wrist that some people just don't have. So I'll give you an example. So I'm one of them. So if you hold out your arm and you try to touch your your shoulder, you'll see that most of you will be able to do this pretty easily. Now this is not a situation where my biceps are so big that I can't reach my shoulder, but it is a situation that my connective tissue has gotten quite tight in a couple of spots because of what I do and the requirements of what I do. So I've lost this range of motion right here, and this is something I'm working to get back. But in the meanwhile, it severely affects my ability to do a rack position where my shoulders flex and then my elbows flex too with my wrists extended. The other thing particular to me is my wrist extension is just shit. It's just really, really shitty. And that's what's going to happen when you have years and years and years of the type of things that I do, which for some of you who will watch this, you're in the same boat as I am. But does that mean that we can't front squat? Well, no, it means we have to use a different rack. So what a lot of guys do is they will use the on the shoulders with arms crossed, and I don't particularly like that one, and I don't like it because it's very easy to lose the bar too far back against the throat or have it roll if you lose arm position. An alternative way to do that is to use more of the traditional rack, but to use a lifting strap to increase the distance that you can reach the bar this way. What that would look like is this. I'm going to take this. So what you're going to do is you're going to have your lifting straps, you're going to fix them to your bar. You're going to use this as a set of grips, which lets you pull up to keep the elbow, to keep the shoulder flexed. So for some of you, this will let you get quite a bit better at front squatting. For other people, maybe you can already rack the bar using your fingertips. That'll be fine. This is not about getting better at the technical skills, just giving you a workaround for those of you that want to do it. Once I get this in a position, I'm going to grab my straps, get under the bar. I can fix them this way, which is one of the things I like to do, or I can use this right here, this spot here, and now I have pretty good control of this bar in the event that I want to do squats with it. So, for some of you, there are drills that out. If you're interested in becoming an Olympic lifter, this won't cut it. You have to learn to rack. For some of you that love to CrossFit and you want to be able to do a WOD where you're doing lots of front squats, this probably won't cut it. But for those of you who don't really give a shit about the rest of that, like me, this is a decent workaround whenever you want a front squat. So this is yet another use for the lifting strap. The barbell Zercher squat is one of those lifts that I really just kind of wish that it was most people's first exposure to squatting, rather than trying to do something on a barbell squat with the bar on their back and the front of their shoulders. It is something that is far safer for a couple of reasons. With one of being you don't get stuck with a bar in a position you can't easily get away from it. The other thing is that when you look in terms of loading, there are people who've had certain back injuries that may not be able to barbell back squat, but they can Zercher squat. It gives them a very, very big range of motion, and it makes you very, very strong to have that load in front of the body. Now, one of the problems some people have, though, is they may be able to Zercher a weight that far exceeds what they can hold onto with their arms. And there's a bunch of reasons why that can happen. The reason doesn't matter. What I'm going to show you is a very, very simple way to use your lifting straps to get better numbers in a Zercher. Now, some of the other ones that I've seen in this, I've seen come out in different articles or videos and things. This is one that I can tell you that I have never seen someone else do before I tried it out. Doesn't mean anyone else doesn't do it, I just didn't see it from them. So, not saying I invented it, but I didn't see anyone else show this one to me either. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your lifting straps, and you are just going to choke them onto each other. Then you're going to put that over your neck. You'll have your bar, and this will still work whether you deadlift the bar and put on your knee, or if you start from the rack. That part, not as big of a factor. Side note, when you do your Zercher squat, for those of you that have one, using an axle works way better, because instead of having a 1-inch bar on top of your arm, you have a 2-inch one displacing more force. Anyway, we have our bar set up. I'm going to try to do a set of Zercher squats. Let's say this was a weight that was pretty heavy for me, and for some reason maybe my arms are fatigued, maybe they're some kind of injury that limits how much I can pull on them, but I find that it doesn't hurt to do the position, it just hurts to hold up all that extra weight. This is a way that we can use the straps to our advantage. I get set up, I scoop my weight, and then I'm just going to grab a strap on each side. So let's look at what this does. Now that I'm under the weight, I don't even really have to hold it that much, because I can just hold on from here. And you can hold a shitload of weight this way. Then I can go ahead and do my Zercher squat. So what we're looking at is that just by using the strap on the low end of the neck, you know, it sits back here to where your traps on the neck meet, not necessarily at the top of your skull. Don't do that. If you do that, you're not going to be doing it very long. But it's a very, very easy way to use your lifting straps to get better performance if you like to do Zercher squats. So once again, they're not useless, they are simply a tool. The pull-up is, of course, one of the primary upper body exercises. It's been a standard for strength and fitness for many, many years. It's probably one of the most commonly trained of the kind of primary body weight movements you'd see done by almost anybody. Virtually every single system of strength and fitness is going to have pull-ups included in it, as they should. For many, many people, their grip is a limiting factor for their pull-ups, so you'll see them using their lifting straps to assist with their pull-ups, and that's great. I wouldn't say do that every time, but there's a lot of benefits to that, particularly for someone who can knock out 20 to 30 pull-ups, and your grip is what slows you down in your numbers. Another way we can use our lifting straps is to make our pull-ups harder, to where we're grabbing them, we're hanging on, and it's such a tiny little piece of fabric that it's a closed fist position. So offhand, pretty popular with people who are looking to get a lot more of this type of strength here. It will somewhat assist with grippers, for those of you that are into closing grippers, because it's such a closed hand position. Also useful for jiu-jitsu, particularly those of you that work with a gi, because there's a lot of situations where you may be able to grab the legging inside of a pant, which is that similar grip, or maybe the back of a collar or a crease. So to do this, you're just going to choke them onto a bar, and the beautiful thing is you don't even need an actual pull-up bar. You'll see here, this is just affixed to the top of the rack. 2x2 square is not so big that a lifting strap would go around and choke on. And then from here, I would just do a pull-up. Just grab these straps, get a nice firm grip. You're gonna feel a lot more pressure in your fingers. And then once you're here, you can do a pull-up. So it's a no-brainer. If you can do a pull-up, you can figure this out. Once again, it goes back to the original premise that I was presented. They said lifting straps are useless, and I say no, they're not. Okay, rounding out the primary the primary motions that we use for training, I'm going to show you a variation for a deadlift using lifting straps. Now, this can be used to make the grip more of a focal point or less, because you can wrap your hand around it. But it's going to do something that's even more important than that. So here's what I want you guys to consider for a moment. The height that a barbell sits of 45s on it, that height was not dictated by a team of biomechanics scientists that all came together and said that 22-inch diameter was the best size for a 45-pound plate, so put the hole here, right? That's not what happened. The size of a 45-pound plate is a manufacturing standard. What do I mean? I mean that whenever they started to make actual plates, instead of, you know, the shot-loaded bells or the solid bells, somebody was trying to figure out how do they make these plates. They were a lot less likely concerned on where it actually puts the bar on you and more on if they could mass produce them. And that is carried on today, where even, you know, it's kind of dumb that plates that are being made in 2013 are the same fucking size as the ones that were made at 1913. Because is that the best they can do? They haven't improved upon that. That does not determine what is a full range of motion. You need to understand, even deadlifting off the floor at that height is not full range of motion according to how your spine and your hips and your knees and your ankles move. Okay, I don't want to drill on that all day, but just please understand that. So for some of you, it's going to be more beneficial to lift lower to the floor, and you'd stand on a platform to do that. And for some of you, it's going to be more beneficial to lift higher off the floor. This is one way to do that. Particularly if you're in a pinch and you don't have maybe blocks or rack available, here's another way that you can do that. I can put the lifting straps on a bar, and I can just slip them right on and choke them on, same way I have for some of the other ways we've trained here. So here's what this allows me to do. If I want to make it a challenge for my grip, I can simply grab the straps, and I can use these to change the height of the pull. So look, here's a pull from the knee. Here's a pull from mid-shin, which, you know, brings it up 3 or 4 inches. Okay, now both of those feel a lot better on my back and hips than all the way at the ground. I still pull from that height, but those feel better. The other thing I can do is I can just wrap around a couple fingers, something like this. If grip is a concern, run 2 fingers, it's really easy to hold, just like that. So this gives me a way to do a harder pull just by grabbing the straps and lifting it. And I'll tell you, we had this event at a contest for U.S. Nationals last year, the U.S. Grip Championship, and amongst a room of guys who train grip, many of them really struggled with around a 330 pull. So it's not particularly easy. And I can use it to scale my pulling height. So this is not a bad way to go, and a lot of you would benefit from it if you'd be willing to try it out. So those are the primary lifts used to demonstrate that lifting straps do not suck.